This week's vlog, like many of them, is going to be based on personal experience. In fact, it's something that we're currently going through in our family. One of my sons was suspended from school for 5 days for kicking a teacher. And I went through the proper channels, or I'm still currently going through the proper channels of asking for a manifestation meeting. And what that means is that a group of people, myself, the special ed chair of our district, the school psychologist, his teacher, the principal of the school district he's in, all meet and have to answer 2 questions. The first question is, was the behavior a result of the improper use or misuse of his IEP? The second question is, was the behavior in question due to the disability? Only one of these answers needs to be yes. And in this case, the answer that would need to be yes would be that this was a direct manifestation of his disability. He had a panic attack. Anxiety does that. His diagnosis is severe anxiety. What that means is they cannot suspend him. Does that mean that I agree that he kicked the teacher and it was right? No, it doesn't. But unlike what many people want to say, they want to think that we're making excuses or that we want special treatment, and that's not the case. You can't punish away a disability. He didn't choose to kick the teacher because he was acting like a brat. He had an anxiety attack. And in a child of that age, sometimes that comes out as violence. Sometimes he runs, sometimes he spits, sometimes he tears his papers up. This instance, he kicked a teacher. And I don't condone that. And I never have, and I never will. And I don't make excuses for it. It isn't because he has anxiety. That's just a reason behind it. That's a way for us to understand why the behavior happened. And the reason that's important is because behavior is communication. All behavior, good behavior, bad behavior, indifferent behavior, it's all communication. And we have to know why things happen in order to understand why they happen and in order to make sure that they don't happen again. Think of this example. You would never punish a child because they could not read what you wrote on the board. If they wore glasses, you wouldn't take their glasses away. You would give them their glasses. That's a proper modification for that child. If those glasses are broken, or they forget them at home, or whatever the case, and they don't have their glasses on, and they can't read the board, you're not going to punish them. No matter how much punishment you do, that child still cannot read the board. So you learn to live with that. You make adaptations, you make modifications, you have a great IEP, you continue to work through the ability of this child to not read because of their eyesight. The same is what can be said for any disability, whether you need a wheelchair or you have an IEP because you have anxiety or autism or a cognitive disability. It doesn't matter. You can never, ever, ever punish those disabilities out of a child, no matter what that disability is. So when parents of typical developing children, teachers, administrators, doctors, it doesn't matter, when they say to you, you're asking for special treatment, that's not true. That is the furthest thing from the truth. The truth is, as a family, we just want to fit in. We want to belong. We want to be important. We want to be heard. We want to be understood. We want our children to go to school and get the education that their peers are getting and that they deserve. We want that education to come without having to scream and yell and fight and threaten and bring attorneys and advocates involved into the situation. We just want everybody to be on board with the idea that it is important to educate everyone. That doesn't mean the same education, unlike everybody who thinks that we're asking for special treatment. You know, they say, oh, you want your kid to have modifications and adaptations. You want us to bend over backwards so your kid can fit in and belong. And that's not true. I want you to accept my kid for who he is. I know that teaching a child with special needs is difficult. You don't need to preach to me about that. I live it every day. times 3, in fact. But at the end of the day, when you get to go home and do your lesson plans and go out with your family and forget about school for a few hours, we don't have that option. It's a 24-hour-a-day job. It's a 7-day-a-week job. So I don't consider asking my child to be accepted and educated and asking that we follow the rules and regulations and that we make the proper modifications and we don't punish a kid for having a disability. That's not special treatment. It's common sense. So I implore you to think about things from outside your perfect little box. I want you to look deeply into the idea that it isn't special treatment. We have to bust our butts to just get by in every aspect of life, whether it's school, home, work, community, social. Those things don't come easy. And in fact, they don't even come free. We often have to miss work. We have to give up the idea of having friends or family even. And you become sufficient in terms of it's just us. It's the 5 of us. We have since learned to reach out to other people in our situation because those people become your new friends and your new family. They are the ones that you learn to lean on because oftentimes those people that were there before your kids were disabled are no longer there. So before you judge someone and assume they want special treatment, just try to understand that isn't the case. I want my kid to go to school. I want him to get an education. I want him to feel like he belongs. I want him to have friends. That's not special treatment. Being punished because he was born with a disability is wrong. And it's not going to change anything. It's not going to change the way that he perceives the world. It's not going to change the way that he behaves. We have to take those problems, those behaviors that we want changed, and we have to teach him the right way to behave. We have to teach him and give him the right tools so that he can survive in this world. Punishing him just tells him that they don't appreciate who he is, they don't understand who he is, and they expect him to change who he is. Even though you can't change those disabilities. You can learn to live with them. You can learn to make modifications and adaptations. They can sometimes be medicated, but they never, ever go away. You can't spank them away. You can't suspend them away. You can't put them in timeout and expect them to go away. None of those things are going to change that aspect of anybody. So think about it. Think about how you react to someone. Think about how you deal with things that are hard or difficult or wrong. Because punishment is not always the answer.